I surely would have said, for I must go, a place for you prepare. For I must go, a place for you prepare. And when this place has been prepared for you, I will return. With me you shall be too. So that's where I am, you may also be. So that's where I am, you may also be.
Father in heaven, Father, we come before you in your presence, before your throne, and in spirit and mind and heart. And Father, we do ask that you will be with us, wisdom, knowledge, understanding about your words, about what this day represents, Pentecost, a holy day, a special day that you've set apart for us to come to worship you. Father, we do ask that your words will be inspired and hearing will be inspired. Father, we do give you thanks in your Son's great mighty name and ask that your will be done.
Thank you, Barry. And now for our first message today, Mr. Randy Scherich.
Good morning and welcome to Pentecost. This is just awesome. A big building, place we can spread out. Okay, the title of this is Dissecting a Miracle. I'll tell you straight up, the entire purpose of what I am after is, can we look at the Holy Scriptures with a different eye? Can we put ourselves in the place of what we are reading about? We are going to look at a miracle, and this is in John 11. It's the miracle of Lazarus' resurrection. It is a story that probably 99.9% of all Christians could tell you the entire story. But the question is, do they understand the nuances of the story, of what is really happening? Can we understand as God's people the true story? Okay, now the resurrection of Lazarus. We know that Lazarus died. His two sisters, Mary and Martha, sent a message to Jesus saying, "Come, our brother is sick." In John 11:3, so the sisters sent word to Jesus, "Eternal, the one you love is sick." Okay, he has a message. He's sick. What are you going to do about it? See, that's the key. Well, one of the keys. What is Jesus going to do about it? And then if we go down to verse 6, so when he, which is Jesus, heard that Lazarus was sick, he stayed where he was for 2 more days. He stayed. Now, there's a reason for that, and most people know the reason, because he wanted to ensure Lazarus was literally dead. If we go to John, we're still in John 11. If we go to verse 38, it says, "Then Jesus again groaned in himself." He came to where Lazarus is. His two sisters talked to him and said, "Why didn't you show up? If you'd have shown up earlier, he would be alive." And so now he's going to the grave, and it said he groaned in himself, came to the tomb. It was a cave, and a stone laid against it. "Take away the stone," he said. "But Eternal," said Martha, the sister of the dead man, "by this time there is a bad odor, for he has been there for 4 days." she made some key indications with what she just said. In Jewish times, she said that it's been 4 days since he's died. Now, back then, they had a belief, which we would call a superstition or whatever, that a deceased person, their spirit would hover around the body for 3 days. Within 3 days, that spirit could come back into the body and the body would be resurrected. She made a comment. She said, Lord, or dear Lord, said Martha, the sister of the dead man. This is not a man that is dying within the 3 days. It's past 3 days. He is now dead. In their minds, there is no coming back. It is done. And she also said there's a bad odor. So that means that through the 3 day or the 4 days, he's starting to deteriorate. And and he has been there for 4 days, showing us this is our belief. 3 days, you could have risen him. 4th day, forget it. That was the culture. Now, what is the culture for us today? Their culture was within 3 days, resurrection's fine. After that, forget it. You are dead. For us today, we have also a belief which we back up by science. And this is our scientific belief that immediately after death, as soon as the blood circulation and the respiration stops, the body has no way of getting oxygen or removing waste. Excess carbon dioxide causes an acidic environment, causing membranes in the cells to rupture. The membranes release an enzyme that begins to eat the cells from the inside out. I have no medical experience whatsoever. Yeah, I've taken a few first aid courses, but that's nothing. What I'm telling you is as layman as you can get. If I'm not going far in depth, it's because I don't know it. And when I looked it up, it was getting too deep for me. So I'm just giving you the bare minimums of what happens. Fifth, paleness of the skin, the coloring of the skin happens. The body temperature starts to decline until it gets to the same temperature as the atmosphere, and it's determined by the temperature, by the humidity, by dryness, and so forth. About 2 hours rigor mortis sets in, and it lasts between 18 to 20 hours. Cells start to rupture, producing, as I said, gas. And in 24 to 72 hours after death, the internal organs are decomposing. That's layman's terms of what happens nowadays 3 days after death. And then we go to the 4th day. Now we know what they believe. We know what we believe. Now here's what happened. Verse 39, John 11:39. I want you to do right now is think, what was the reactions of these people? What happened was impossible. What happened is scientifically no way. Back then, there was no way. Did they say, oh man, how great this is? Or were they saying, no way, this can't happen. This is impossible. You realize this is a greater miracle than Scherich, Meshach, and Abednego, who was thrown into a fiery furnace. This was a greater miracle. Now, I said, let's put ourselves into this miracle, into their mindset, because when we look at the scriptures, this is what I'm trying to get across. And we put ourselves in their place. Let's try this. Scherich, Meshach, and Abednego went into a fiery furnace. That's what we're going to use for our basis. You had a friend. He dies. So you are going to have a funeral. And the funeral